Welcome to Creative Conversations, where creators connect and inspire. I'm Sophia, and today we'll be diving into the creative world of Ray, where we'll be talking about his performing and teaching in music. Let's get started. Ray, we go back a long way, don't we?
We do.
It's crazy. So we worked in House of Frasers together. How long ago was this now?
It was 10 years this year.
No way.
10 years.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. It was pretty much as soon as I moved back from London, got the job, and we were next door to each other for a few months, and then I actually joined your group. So, yeah.
Madness.
And then we were running up and down stairs with shoes for
I don't
ages.
know if you remember, but when I worked at House of Fraser, I decided that I could only wear kitten heels.
I remember that.
And pencil skirts.
Yeah.
What was I doing? Who did I think I was?
I remember you, sort of
Trotting around.
Between, and whenever they phoned us to go over the other side of the shop, it was like all the way across, and you were just sort of like one end to the other.
It was dangerous.
Yeah, it was.
Do you remember the creaky stock ring for the shoe cupboard?
I do.
And I remember one time trying to go down the stairs and my heel got stuck in the floorboards. And I literally flew when I was hanging by a heel.
I remember all that, and I remember the actual stockroom being a complete danger to life. And now, it's kind of probably not that much of a bad thing that it's, was changed and reinvented.
Yeah, House of Fraser's gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's sad, but...
Is it the whole chain, or is it just the Chichester one that's closed?
I feel like it's still online. I feel like it's kind of stayed there. But it's still there, but it's not really there. No. And then Joe Malone was there.
Joe Malone, yeah. I mean, to be honest, where is there to shop now in Chichester that was like that?
There's nowhere.
No,
John Lewis on the outskirts, but
sad, really, isn't it?
It's very sad.
So when I was at House of Fraser, I was studying at Northbrook College at the time, studying print design. What were you doing while working there? Were you doing anything at the time?
Not really, no. I was finishing my licentiate diploma from the academy, so I just finished my master's earlier that year. Mm-hmm. And then I had this wrist injury, which is why I stopped music for a while. I basically went from a full-time performing career to studying the masters, doing all of this performing things, and then breaking my arm and having to pause for a while. So then I thought, well, I need to do something, and I need to do something that I also would enjoy. So I went to House of Fraser, and actually at the time, one of our mutual friends was working next to you as well.
Yes, I think I remember her.
Yeah.
Actually, God, what was her name?
Shaz.
Yeah. Yes, what a blast from the past.
I haven't seen her for years and years now, but thanks to her, she got in touch with the boss of the suit shop and said, actually, there is a job going, so I took it. And then I think many months later I was in the office and our manager had left us completely high and dry, with all due respect to her, but, with all good intentions. But we were there, and I got a phone call from a music colleague saying to me, why are you still there? Why don't you just get on with your music career now? Just do it. And that day I left.
Really?
That day I decided to quit. It was just, she said, I've got a gig for us to do. I've got a wedding that we can do. And I've got a tango event that we can do, which was the most random thing. Yes. Oh. It was the most random thing. So it was at a castle in East Sussex, and it was a series of short tango pieces that people dance to. And then we basically do a set for 30 minutes or something like that while they dance, and then it's harp and violin.
Harp and violin. I was going to say, actually, for everyone listening, Ray plays the violin. Did I specify that at the start of the podcast? I don't think I did. So he does coaching. You do a lot, to be honest, don't you? You do your reiki.
I call it a multifaceted career.
I love that. I'm actually all for it. The model that we had on earlier was saying about how she likes to be all different things, a photographer, a model, acting, dancing, and I'm exactly the same. And why should we just do one thing?
No, I completely agree. I think there's an expectation that when you're a certain creative, you do one thing, but you are allowed to do a few things. And
exactly.
Labelling is kind of a bit of a danger because it sort of boxes you up into one thing. But we're all, creative people are capable of anything, really.
Yeah. So is violin the only instrument you play?
So professionally,
that sounds like that's not a big thing.
Well,
it is. I've tried violin and I'm crap at it. Well,
it's
I
not
was a
for
kid.
everyone. It's not for everyone.
Sounded
I mean, I've seen a
screeching.
whole spectrum of different performers of all sorts, but I play the viola, which is very similar. It's just a bit bigger.
Viola.
And you read a different clef. So I refer to clefs as different languages. They're kind of sub-languages within music, which I won't go into too much. But so viola is a bigger instrument. It looks very similar to a violin. It's just got different strings. It's a bit more involved because it's heavier slightly. But that all came about when I was at university many, many years ago, and they said, there aren't enough viola players in the world, so why don't we give you lessons, give you an instrument, and then you learn. And actually it's kind of gone hand in hand with playing the violin, and to be able to switch between the two has always been useful.
Does it have quite a different sound depth to the violin then?
Yeah,
if it's bigger?
Softer slightly, dependent on what you're playing, but it's got a slightly warmer tone to it, and the violin. But I mean, I am a violinist at the end of the day. I just play the viola, whereas there are some viola players who play the violin, so it's the other way around. And then I also play the piano, and I teach all three. Sometimes classical guitar as well, because that was an instrument I played many years ago. But primarily I focus on the violinists and the viola players because, well, that's what I studied mainly in string teaching and string performing. So that's kind of where I sort of focus.
Incredible. So you were playing violin while you were working at House of Fraser?
Yeah, still with a pause, but still
after
doing that.
House of Fraser, a very good friend of yours, I say good friend because anyone that tells you, right, this is time to focus on your passion and just go for it, I reckon is a good friend.
Yeah.
As long as you're actually good at that thing. Like,
well, you'd hope so.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could get good at something, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you tell a friend that's really crap at drawing to become a professional artist?
Follow your passion, maybe.
Follow your passion. I think, actually, no. I take that back. I think everyone should just do what makes them happy. You can get better at it.
I agree. You should do what makes you happy, but within reason.
But with this friend, he knew you were good. He knew it was your passion, and I think it's great that he gave you the confidence to be like, see ya.
Well, I think I'm really glad for that phone call, because it just made me realise that it was actually on a very stressful day where we had a lot of things coming in and a lot of stuff that I was just thinking, you know what, I respect the fact that I'm doing this job, and I respect the people in it and everything that they do, and especially our hire manager or whatever she did, because I just thought this is too complicated for me and it's not really where my passion is. And at the end of the day, I'm not really supposed to be working in that field. I was supposed to be working in a music field, which is what I trained to do. I mean, it was a really good job to do, and I think everyone should just be open to doing anything along those lines and not say that you're too important to do jobs like that, because it's not the case.
No, exactly.
You do what needs doing at the time, and don't put yourself on a pedestal and say, sorry, I can't do that job because it's beneath me, because it's not.
No,
it's just
all experience is good experience, right?
Yeah. I mean, I gained a lot of confidence working in a shop because of just interaction with humans, just going up to people going, can I bother you?
I don't think I should have worked in the shop.
I thought you were brilliant, actually.
No, I think I've always had people skills. That bit's
definitely,
fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure anyone from House of Fraser isn't listening now, and if they are, well, maybe.
I really hope not.
I hope not. But what I was going to say is, I accidentally gave away a pair of Kurt Geiger heels by accident. They were like over £100, and it's because I scanned one of their vouchers. Do you remember how many different vouchers there were?
Yes, I actually, funny enough, remembered this the other day, and it's almost like a traumatising PTSD situation.
And I think a receipt came out, so I thought, done deal. But actually, it just had not, But anyway, I gave her the voucher with all the money still on it back, and the heels, and obviously she never came back in, and I got into so much trouble for that. But I was always making mistakes like that.
Innocent mistakes, though, isn't it? It's flustering when you've got someone staring at you doing something. It's a bit like, I guess, in a way, you're performing in a certain sense, because you're supposed to be. I remember actually in that shop, they kind of forgot that we were human and that we had feelings.
Yes.
And that we might have got hungry or tired at some point. They were like, no, just keep going, no one cares. And then, the person who made you run up and down the stairs about 20 times in 10 minutes, and you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But
It was hard work, but
it was
you
difficult.
do learn from these. I think I left in a bit of a bang in the end. I decided I was going to go to university, and I just didn't turn up again, which was dreadful. But I think I learned. I've said this on a few podcasts. I'm not good at working for other people. I was always destined to work for myself.
I've been a bit like that.
Yeah, a lot of us creatives are.
Yeah, I think we have to be in control of our own kind of future a little bit.
Yeah.
And because we're so creative, we're full of ideas and full of that sort of, I don't know, like a push that some people won't have.
We have like an inner drive, a voice that's telling us, guiding us.
Yeah.
And I think some people fight it.
Yeah.
They don't listen to that voice.
Yeah.
Then I feel like you and me, we've let go. We go, okay, bring it.
We need to listen to that.
Let's just flow and see what happens.
Just get on with it and do it. And actually that comes to nicely into how sort of careers in any creative field start blossoming, because you have to be quite patient with it, but because I think you've got that desire to do well and desire to, where you're like, well, I've got to make it work because this is my whole future, you never really sit back and wait for it. You've just got to keep pushing and keep going and keep talking to people, keep
trying new things.
Yeah.
You can't be scared of failure. You've got to just keep going. If it fails, try again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meet the next person. Do you never know what's going to be the new opportunity?
I was actually going to say one of the biggest things is not being afraid to talk to any person. It doesn't matter who they are. They can always just pretend you don't exist and not talk to you, but you've tried, Yeah. There's been a number of people that I've met in the past who have been considered, especially in the music industry, who have been considered like what you might call famous or really big names in the music industry. But at the end of the day, they're all human, and they all have the same desires that we all have, and they have their own life, they're all things they're doing.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I've literally just gone ahead and spoken to anyone and ended up speaking to some who I may not have realised are really quite famous people, because I tried to see the human side of everybody and not try to put them up here.
Yeah. Because also they, most of the time, appreciate that anyway. They just want to be spoken to like a normal person.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I suppose, a lot of online people that do maybe YouTube or things like that. I've got a few friends who actually do that as their career, and they're creative people as well, and they just consider it as their job. That's just as we consider our stuff as our job.
Yeah,
there's nothing. I don't know. They just get on with it as you would.
It's so true. I mean, I'm very new to modelling, but I have very loyal fans already from it, like photographers, and I didn't realise this until I modelled for a big photography show. It's called the Photography Show.
Okay.
And I was on this stand, and there was mobs of like literally 200 to 300 photographers going, Sophia Gray! I was like, what is going on? And like one guy turned up with a drawing of me. No hate, drawing's fantastic.
That's
I love it. But it was
a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. And there was a lot of people screaming my name, and I had no idea who they were. And that was a glimpse of what it would feel like to be famous, and it was overwhelming. By the 4th day of working at this event, I was like, kill me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, no offence to them, it's just, it's so intense to have that many people. And you do just want people to talk to you like a normal human being. And the pressure of performing for people, because I think when people see your pictures, they mould a version of you in their head. They think they know you.
Yeah.
And when you don't live up to that, it can be quite disappointing, and you feel like you have to, but you don't quite know what they've imagined in their heads. So I don't know. If I met a celebrity, I would feel that they'd feel the same as I did at that show.
Yeah, probably.
You just
slightly crowded by stuff going on and just doing their job, just trying to kind of get their job done and get out again afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, some people get a bit elitist, but a lot of people probably feel like, oh, I don't deserve all of this, I'm just me, why are you all so obsessed with me?
I think I prefer the humble ones.
Yeah,
the ones that are a little bit more down to earth and a bit, nicer.
Have you met some of the more elitist types then?
Yeah, a few times.
I think in your industry and mine, in arts, it can get a little bit snooty sometimes, can't it?
It really can. And actually, before I moved back from London, so just for context, I was living there for 3 years. Kind of 1 year was a bit on and off while I was going to study at the academy, and then 2 years solidly living in London. And I lived with a lady who was a fashion consultant before, who had such a expansive career that I didn't really ask her many questions about it, because at first she was my landlady, and I didn't want to pry or anything. But then we became really good friends over the years, and she's actually known my family since I was very young, through living in the same area. And I worked for her as an assistant, a kind of unofficial assistant, for a year or a bit over that. And I learned so many things. And she used to introduce me to all sorts of people. There was a really funny, it's kind of relevant, but a funny story of when she used to have some very big names around her house for dinners, some very, very posh meals and things. And the first time this happened, she actually said to me, right, Ray, if you could just go upstairs and keep quiet and don't say anything and don't make a noise, don't practice, please just stay up there and be, a mouse. I was like, okay. So of course that day I dropped something, I can't remember what I was doing, but maybe a book or something on the floor, and it was so loud I kind of then went to the door and I was thinking, oh no, someone's heard me. Her guests then invited me downstairs, and then I thought, oh, that's nice, they've invited me downstairs, but it turns out they just wanted me to help with the serving. So I ended up serving, and we had this
Who are these people?
They were, I probably shouldn't say who, but a big name of car company, the daughter of that company, and then someone else, and all her people that were related to a show that was happening in London or something, and they knew my landlady through some other field, and they invited me down. They said, oh, who are you, what are you doing? And then we introduced ourselves, and then I ended up serving this dinner with them and having this giant salmon.
I love salmon.
It slid onto the floor.
No.
Me and this other lady were just absolutely crying with laughter in the kitchen. It was so funny. And then we kind of scooped it all up, cleaned it off and put it on the thing and just pretended nothing happened. To this day, that's the first time I've ever talked about this.
I'm kidding. That's so funny.
But that
floor
was
salmon. Lovely.
Floor salmon is probably the best salmon.
Wow.
But that was a lady with a very creative family, very creative background.
Yeah.
I think one of her sons is a photographer, and her daughters were both in very creative fields as well. So
Wow.
I learned a lot from her.
Yeah.
And also about, remaining humble, not getting too kind of swept up in this high life that she was involved with. And she taught me a lot about just life skills, lots of things. And
what an incredible landlord to have.
It was like a finishing school, I would say.
Wow.
It was a bit sometimes scary, feeling occasionally like you're censored. You can't say what you want to say because that's wrong,
I would last 2 seconds.
She was great though.
Really?
And actually I really do, I have very fond memories of her, and she sadly passed away a few years ago, but she, out of my whole career, she made the biggest impact on sort of lessons I've learned that I've carried forward into my career and everything. So I'm very, very grateful to her.
Do you think some of your creativity blossomed while you were living there?
Definitely, yes.
Really?
I mean, I was probably kept to myself when I was at home, but at the academy it was a real chance to work harder than ever, because you're expected to play so many different pieces of music all the time, practice so that you remain at your highest level, because you're amongst other musicians who are just at the top of their game, and you've got to remain with them at that level. And it's quite hard, and it is constantly stressful, but I think once you're in that environment you just kind of get on with it, you just do it, you just tell yourself, oh well, I've got to do this, I've got no choice.
Is that how you get really good as a musician then, is literally just practicing every day?
There is that, but that actually then ties into my PhD quite well, because
so did you do your PhD in, what was that in?
So I'm still currently doing it, so I'm finishing.
Okay.
I'm in my final year.
A long time.
6 years minimum, I think.
6 years minimum?
I've done 5.
Tom's lying to me. He's meant to be doing a PhD and he's saying it was 4 years.
Maybe 4. I think you can do 4 if you're really clever, and you're quicker on it, because that's full time.
But he wouldn't be doing it
I'm finishing
full-time.
this year is 5 years, and I'm done.
That is a commitment. How old are you when you started?
30.
30,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was in lockdown when I started.
Oh, really?
So I enrolled through Sussex University, because I found with a PhD it's more important to find a supervisor that suits your study, have a good chat with them and see if you kind of, bond's the wrong word, you have a familiar something.
Well, it's a long time, and they've got to be invested in what you want to talk about. Because with a PhD, don't you have to be quite passionate about one subject, and that's what you basically study for the whole 6 years?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's a journey as well, and you can't sort of expect any results because it's biased. So you have to, have a very open mind because you've got this idea, but you need to have an idea that it could be proven or disproven. You can't sort of be biased towards one or the other, because then it's not a fair sort of study. Then you've got to design a method that would be suitable for what you're looking for, what you're expecting to look at, and versus what you're actually finding out over the time. Mine is all related to wellbeing of musicians at conservatoire level, because so that again ties into how is it okay to practice for 6 hours a day until your face is weeping with soreness and all of that. And you're
from holding the
like
face?
Sometimes you end up with sore fingers, like cut fingers because you've been doing it for only small things, but being told to just stay and practice until you're finished.
So it wasn't just my university that told us that. They used to tell us you're not passionate and you're never going to succeed unless you stay up every night and you work all through the night, all through the day, and you don't rest. And it's like, why would you teach someone that? Because eventually you're going to crash. You're going to have mental burnout. And then you can't work for weeks because you've ruined yourself mentally. So they should be teaching wellness.
Well, so more. I mean, I've done a extensive sort of a look into all the different higher education offerings of wellbeing, and every university and conservatoire around the UK. I've kind of tried to keep it into the UK. They do go on about student wellbeing as a kind of priority, and they do say you can drop in and do classes at this. You can do whatever you want. You can do like yoga sessions, or you can go to counselling if you need it. It's all there. It's just, are people using it properly? And so when you're being told, you've got to keep working for 6 hours a day until you get it right, what is that actually doing to you physically? And also mentally, you're kind of just training yourself to work until you're at a standstill. So, there are other ways of looking at it, and there are other ways of dealing with that sort of work.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I definitely didn't practice, I shouldn't really say that, but I didn't do, 7 hours a day practice. I did what was necessary because I feel like if you're in the right frame of mind, you can just do what needs doing, play what needs to be played at a really good level, and just get on with the rest of your day.
Yeah, exactly.
You shouldn't be a slave to anything.
No.
Really. I mean, passions can be a little bit like that.
That hustle grind kind of thing that's very popular these days is quite harmful, isn't it? I mean, I am a hustler. I think you are as well. We work hard for what we want, but it's learning to slow down when you need to, which is so important. To be fair, that's something I need to learn personally. I had burnout not even that long ago. I still do it sometimes.
I think we're all guilty of that really, at some point, but through my sort of business, which is called Apollo Holistic, I work with Emily Perry, who's a people consultant. So she's an HR professional, and she is also a business professional, and she knows how to kind of tailor the business side of people's freelance careers so that it suits them and what they want much more. And where I'm the music side of things, we work really well as a team, and through doing that we've actually done a lot together. We're helping creatives get into the work that they really believe they want to do.
That's incredible. And is that more working on the mindset of a musician then?
So I tend to do the more mind-based stuff because of my Reiki training. And
yes, I'd like to get into the Reiki chat at some point.
I mean, we'll get into that because it's a totally different world to music, but it all connects very much because it's all about you as a whole, kind of trying to be all nice and rounded and
so if you take a young musician that looks up to you and they want to get into the industry and they have no idea how, and you're taking it back to basics about working on their mindset first, what kind of lessons would you be teaching them?
I think one of the biggest things is don't run before you can walk. Try not to compare yourself to other people, because that is something we're all, again, I think we all do at some point. We compare ourselves, we go, okay, well, I want to be like that person. That's fine in a sort of inspiring way to be like someone else, but try not to sort of dive into something that's a little bit out of reach before you actually can, you know. So you have to obviously work hard on your own standard, you know. If you want to get anywhere in music as well, you have to be the best.
You kind of got to refine your skills first before trying to throw yourself into that situation. Yeah,
exactly. You have to sort yourself out first before you can go off and be like, I'm really famous, you know.
I get that.
But I mean, you do again in music especially, and I guess in modelling and art, you have to have a certain something special, don't you, for people to notice.
Yeah, well, I do find sometimes that some of the artists that sell more work are ones that aren't, that sounds really mean, aren't necessarily as good. They're just really good at selling their stuff. They're really good at presenting themselves. Because a lot of artists are terrified of being in the limelight. They don't want to. And they're kind of like, oh, I'm a struggling artist. I'm going to stay at home and be hungry and hope that my artwork gets noticed. No. We shouldn't be doing that. You should be screaming about it, showing the world, and that's learning that and being like, I deserve this.
I agree completely. I think there is this thing attached to artists, like you just said, the word struggling artist.
Yes. And
I'm kind of against the idea that people have in their minds that musicians especially are always struggling.
Same with musicians, isn't it? We get such a bad rep.
We do. And the fact is, you don't have to. You don't have to struggle.
Yeah.
And if you just sort your stuff out, you know, you get your business in gear, you get your skills in gear. There are two sides to it. And this is how, you know, we kind of help get people in order, is making sure that you've got the quality of what you're trying to sell, plus the business skills, and then you put the two together and you can hopefully thrive on that. But it's often needs guidance on the journey that you take. But again, why should you be suffering with, like, you shouldn't be thinking, oh, I can't do that because the world says that I'm going to be a struggling musician or a struggling artist.
No.
It's just an outward perceived thing. People still, you know, say to me, oh well, why don't you put your prices up a little bit because, you know, it must be difficult for you. And I'm thinking, well, it's not, but you can't
just get more work.
You just get more work. You just work harder. You just, again, within your means, so you don't push yourself so much that you're exhausted.
Exactly.
You don't want to be falling asleep every day.
No.
Mid work, just like
can you imagine on the violin?
Oh, hang on a minute, I'm just going to have a nap. Because it is too easy to fall into burnout.
Exactly. And us creators really struggle with that, and I think because we're constantly trying to prove something. Look how hard I work. Look how amazing I am. You know.
And the other thing, you know, that I always make sure is that just because something worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for other people. So we try 100%. To tailor anything that we suggest, because it's only suggestions. It's not like we're prescribing things, or we're not saying to people you've got to do this, because there's no right and wrong really. It's looking at people's careers and looking at what they've done so far, looking at what they might want to do, and then sort of looking at avenues that might direct them in the right way, but through their own actions, because you need to learn those things yourself. You need to actually kind of build those skills yourself. And sometimes they need guiding, because you might be lost and thinking, what am I doing? Although
university, I don't know if it's the same for you, it really helped me, but there was a lot of things when you get spat out the other end of university, you go, I don't know what I'm doing now, especially when you work for yourself. And I think I would have benefited, probably still would now, from a mentor, someone that goes, oh, okay, let's just channel your thoughts into one place, because that's what I'm like this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, and I get really excited and I want to do everything. But it means sometimes that you miss certain bits, and you, like for me as an artist, I get scared of approaching galleries, putting my prices up on my work, really charging what I deserve. Those kind of things. I know I'm not alone in this. Most creators that come on in here do have that problem. It's about knowing your worth. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like it'd be good to have someone that you could talk to about those things. And that's probably where you kind of come in the music world. Because it's a struggle. I think more of us need someone to kind of, not hold your hand, but...
Well, just to support you, really. Just to kind of give you a bit of... a boost, because sometimes as a solo person you learn those skills as you get older anyway, and you finish university on average early 20s, don't you know, on the whole. I know there are mature students and there are, you know, different ages, and it doesn't always matter, but everyone has different life experiences, and sometimes you might get someone who's a mature student in their 40s who has no trouble just jumping in and going, okay, I want this, so I'll have this. But, you know, a 22-year-old might not be as confident and might not be as kind of willing to just jump straight into a career.
And it could have taken one small comment from a parent or a teacher that said, oh, no, you can't do that as a career.
Yeah.
And then that is something that you've got to break down mentally for years after.
Funnily enough, that actually relates very much to one of my students, who, again, a mature student who's come to me, and she has this idea of being told she was too wooden as a violinist when she was young. And so she's carried that with her through her whole career so far, and has never pushed herself in the solo world, because even though she's a fantastic musician, but she's never pushed herself into solo work because she's been told, oh, you're too wooden to do that. You can't relax and play properly. So anyway, so we've been working a lot on the mindset and how to reset that idea. And saying, you know, it's okay to play like this. It's okay to soften up. It's okay to do
how
these things.
How do you work on breaking down those limited beliefs that happen from one small comment?
It's about giving yourself permission to move on from it, I think. That's what I believe anyway. I think if you say, okay, well, that person said something kind of damaging potentially to you when you're younger, but it's just an opinion. It's not. It's really a lot of it's about reprogramming your mind of, you know, what you believe of what they've said.
Yeah.
And remembering that a lot of things like that, I mean, saying someone's wooden is not particularly productive.
No,
it's not really.
It's not giving her any advice on how to be more expressive with it. Is that what she wanted?
Yeah. God, she was trying to do that. And
that just takes the time. It's probably confidence as well.
And so through our time together, we've managed, you know, in a very short time actually, has managed to break that down just by thinking differently about it, learning some technical stuff that can help towards it, and then putting those two together and actually working on you know, readjusting into this sort of slightly more free playing, free movement stuff that avoids any sort of even a hint of that wooden playing. And really it's only been a couple of months and we've only had a few lessons, but already I can see changes.
That's amazing.
And I think it's just, you know, giving someone that freedom that they're looking for. Yeah. Just self-belief again.
That's incredible that you can help people like that and give them some confidence.
Well, I think a lot of people are just naturally, especially musicians and artists, we do tend to be a little bit, not always, but some people go, oh, I'm not good enough, you know.
Yeah.
You do get a lot of people who say, I'm so good, I need to, you know, I need to be on stage and I need to, you know, let's just brush my face off with something and whatever. You get a lot of that as well, but mostly some of these really good musicians are so modest that they never push themselves at all. And I guess artists who never go to these galleries and say, actually, I want my stuff out there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think just...
You need to learn to take up space. You
do need to take up space. And you need to also remember, I think a very good lesson I learned a very long time ago was there was a guy, a famous music man called John Suchet. I don't remember. John Suchet is a very cool name. And he was a Classic FM presenter a long time ago. And he was the one in 2015 who gave us our degrees, our master's degrees. He was in the thing. And he said to us, and I never forget this as a really good lesson, and it sounds really simple, but it makes a lot of sense, that as freelancers, you'll get 100 no's when you go and apply for something, when you go for a job, when you submit something, and people will just turn their noses up and be like, no, that's not what I want right now. But one day someone will say yes and it will change your whole career.
Exactly.
And that's literally all he said at the end of this graduation ceremony. But I took it away from me, you know, 10 years later, I'm still quoting him.
Practising that.
And I still fully believe, you know, that people should all be given a chance at some point. But yeah, you will go through that. You will go through lots of no's through your career.
I have to learn that with modelling. And because I got very popular very quick at working with more hobbyist and amateur photographers. And then when it started getting into more commercial and agency work and learning that your image might not be the right image for people, they might not want, they will... I'm 5'5", so you imagine with modelling, I'm perfect for commercial adverts, happy, friendly, you know, can do that well. You're not going to find me on a runway, are you?
Well, I mean, I know from actually, again, from my landlady, she used to talk about all of that on the show she used to go to and all of this stuff. And actually another good friend of mine who studied on my course in violin, she was very heavily involved in London Fashion Week and all of those events that happened around fashion related things. And she was very tall.
Really?
And used to sort of and ah about modelling. And I think she should have done. She was, would have been perfect. But
you either love it or you hate it. Though,
yeah, but she just liked watching, and that's fair.
Yeah.
You can.
I love fashion. I love it.
See, I thought I did, and then realised that I have no fashion sense. So I just thought, you know what? Let's just wear what I'm comfortable wearing and just hope for the
You're
best.
preppy.
Yeah.
You've always been preppy. I like the preppy look, though.
But then going back to House of Fraser, we always used to be told to wear black and white, and that was very limiting because I felt like I was going back to school. Because they were like, "Oh, wear a white shirt and black trousers and be boring." And then you had all these different options and people turning up in stripes and looking like we're in prison, and I was like, yeah, well, it feels like it, so if the hat fits, whatever. But
and then there was me that thought it was a fashion show every day.
Well, you sold more than anyone else, so I think that might have helped.
It's hilarious actually, because for anyone listening, Tom, my partner, also worked in House of Fraser with us, and it turns out he fancied me for years. Since House of Fraser. Yeah, and he said that, it was like, I don't know, I would come wafting past, in my red lipstick and my tight dresses. And he had definitely a personality in his head of what I would be once if he had me as a girlfriend. And I think it's very different to what he's actually got. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sat on the sofa in my cat pyjamas, eating snacks, probably farting, just being disgusting.
Just being you.
Yeah, and he's like, oh my God, this is a girl that I've like fantasised about for years, and now I've got her, and what is this?
Yeah, I mean, for ages we were thinking, well, you two just, just get on with it. Like,
it should have happened a long time ago.
Because actually, I didn't know your boyfriend very well, because actually he wasn't there when I started there. But I know he came in sometimes, and he knew my manager from the suit.
Yeah, he's good. He loved Clive.
Yeah,
good old
Clive was great,
and
I actually feel, looking back, I feel bad that I left that. I mean, it was only for again, it was for career progression, money at the time.
You're all evolving,
you kind of have to do what you have to do. But I didn't want it to ever cause any issues with him, and it kind of had a bit of a rocky thing, because obviously I'd just been like, okay, well, I'm going now.
Oh, well, I mean, it sounds really bad, doesn't it? But in retail, I think they're so used to people coming and going, and you can get so emotionally attached to a role, can't you, in a job? And they're just going to replace you as soon as you go anyway. Yeah. Like, that doesn't mean that it didn't mean something when you were there, but I don't know, we're human beings and we're ever evolving, and it's just part of it, isn't it?
I mean, as sort of a conversation I was having with a friend the other day, he has a career in construction, one of the sort of building trade areas, and his passion is creative. His passion is film and sort of screenplay writing and all of that stuff. And for a long time, we work together now a fair bit, because I'm helping him write his screenplay and sort of just organising his thoughts.
Oh, amazing.
And all of that. Only because I fully believe he can do it, and as someone said, you only kind of help people that you really want to help, and he keeps saying to me, I feel like I should do more for you and more for that, and I said, no, it's not about me, it's about what you're doing, and I believe in your project, so I'm more than happy to help you as long as it takes until you get something out there.
That's incredible.
He's doing really, really well with it, and he's very, very passionate, but he now needs to get his business autonomous so that it's running along on its own, while he can focus on his own writing and his own stuff. So now we're going to be doing study days where I sit and do my PhD writing while he does his screenplay writing.
That's lovely. I miss people sitting and working together.
Yeah, it's the only way I can ever do any work, because you book in time to do it, but if you're sat at home on your own, of course you're going to get distracted by every single thing.
It's
and you
so
think,
true.
I need to fold a t-shirt up, and I'll do that instead.
For a brief moment before I moved in with Tom, I lived with him and his mum, and I used to go into a flow state while painting when him and his mum would just be nattering about something. Usually going, you did this. But for some reason, listening to them chat, I would just be able to flow way better than just in silence. I still haven't figured out why that is. Well,
I mean, there is probably some neurological reason why that happens, but actually when I do meditation, because as part of reiki and part of wellbeing practice, meditation comes into it quite heavily, and it's just really about getting into a flow state that suits you as a person. It can be that you allow yourself to get distracted, it could be all sorts of different things, but I used to find having peripheral noises actually got me into that zone, because I started learning about it in London, and you couldn't escape sound.
No, that's true.
So I thought best way to deal with it is to work with it, not against it, and just kind of
almost zone in on the sound so much that you forget about what's going on around you, and then single it down to one sound. And then from there,
because then
hopefully
you can't let yourself get too distracted by every single noise that happens and go, oh well, there's a wind chime happening outside and it's distracting me from getting on with my writing. It's like, well, why didn't you let the wind chime in, not physically go grab it, but like let it in, let the sound kind of work with you, and try not to just have excuses for distraction.
Can I ask, actually, this is more a question for myself, because I struggle with this, but how do you make time to slow down and focus on things like meditation? Because I'm always constantly thinking about the next project, the art or modelling or things I have to do, that I almost feel guilty for giving myself that time.
That's a really common thing that we get a lot, actually, and I see it a lot in I feel it myself a lot of the time. When I'm not working on my PhD, feel like I should be doing it, and I go out and see friends, go for dinners or whatever else, and I'm just always thinking about it, and I'm thinking, for goodness sake, will you just let that go? Just try to enjoy just being, and it really is about just trying to be content in the moment, like just trying not to put yourself into the future things that you haven't done yet, worrying about stuff that happened last week, worrying about stuff you haven't done yet, and that, I think it's hard to keep that in mind. It really is hard to keep that going, and I fall in and out of it all the time. But I think it's focus, because meditation's not easy for everybody.
No.
Focus on things that you do know about, which is you and your body and your breathing and your own mind. So take it back to physical sensations. Think of your breathing pattern, try to go back to that. Think about doing a quick body scan and thinking about different areas of your body that might be tense, and that can already get you like a little bit more focused on yourself. It's sort of like mindful practice, I guess.
Mindful practice. Do you do that every day?
Yeah, I try to.
Really? You have got a very calm energy about you.
So great. Calm that I'm basically horizontal and fall asleep.
I feel like I could just take a nap right now. But it's lovely. You've got a lovely aura about you.
I feel like I'm a Labrador. Like,
I feel that. I feel like I've got black cat energy.
Yeah. I see that too.
Yeah. You are very Labrador. I like that.
Because I have currently got one Labrador who is reflective of me. He likes to sort of have
we usually have pets like the owner, don't we? You usually get one like yourself.
And the other one that was really aloof and didn't really want to know anything, and he was hilarious. But no, I have been told that sometimes it's good to kind of have that feeling of relaxation and kind of calm, but then sometimes in my mind it's going absolutely crazy. There's sort of like a box of frogs happening in there, just jumping around all over the place, and I'm just like, I as long as your outward thing is you don't want to be like bottling stuff, because I think it's very important to talk about problems, and if I ever see someone that looks like they need to talk, you can't force it. You just have to invite it and say, is there something you want to talk about, or are you okay?
You literally could do therapy as well, I bet.
I'd like to one day.
Really?
I would love to do that one day. One of my good friends has just become a counsellor.
Can you do music therapy? Is that a thing? There's art therapy.
Yeah. So through my PhD, I'm sort of leaning towards music therapy.
Oh, really? So can I ask, with your PhD, is that what got you into doing Reiki? How did that come about?
Well, so through Apollo Holistic with Emily, her mum is actually a Reiki master, which is where you've done all the levels and you're at the top of the thing, so you can teach it to other people. You become the practitioner that helps other people learn. So she very kindly did the first course with us. Because one day me and Emily were sitting there doing some work together. Emily actually started off as a piano student of mine, and we lived opposite each other where I used to live. Never met. Through lockdown we were both having the same, getting all crazy about the fact that we were stuck indoors and everyone was just wandering around outside, and we were like, no, I can't do this. So Emily me, we never met. And then when I moved, she had looked for a piano teacher, and it came up with my name because I was that close to her on the thing, and I hadn't changed the address yet. And then we were talking over, the course of 6 or 7 months, and we realised that we had a lot in common. And then we started to, over the year, we just then developed this idea that she does the business stuff, I do the music stuff, and together we do the wellbeing stuff. Then she announced that her mum was a Reiki master out of all
Amazing.
of the thing. And I was like, you know what? I'd really love to learn Reiki properly, because it's kind of, it's been described as a sort of pseudoscience-y thing, because it is to do with your natural energy of your body, that could also be argued that it's a scientific thing as well as a energy thing. There are a few different opinions on that one.
Some people really believe in it and other people are totally against it, isn't it? I mean, my mum practices Reiki, so I've been around it since I was a kid. Yeah. So I'm quite open-minded to it. Yeah. But my partner, who's quite more... He's not very... he's open-minded, but he's not very spiritual. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like for something like Reiki, he would want to know all the science behind it before he would agree to go and do it, kind of thing. And
also, whenever you have, again, it's a bit like any therapy of sorts. You can't force it onto someone. You've got to allow them to come to you and actually look at the alternative therapy, for their own healing. Because you can't, for example, I wouldn't go up to someone and go, right, I do Reiki, let's do Reiki. Because it wouldn't do anything for them, for one. You've really got to allow it in and sort of work with it, and not be forceful, because, again, that goes very much against what it's about.
That's amazing. So where do you see this going forward then, with your Reiki, your music coaching, violin playing?
I mean, to be honest, at the moment, I feel at the moment quite content with my career where it is.
I'm not surprised. It sounds fantastic.
I really enjoy it. Like, every week is different. 1 week I'll do, I've got my staple students that I see every week on the same day at the same time, on all of that. But there's also the fact that they, the private lessons. I've got a school I visit once a week with some absolutely lovely students there. All work really, really hard. I think it used to be a grammar school, so they have that kind of mindset of just work really hard and do really well. And music is very important to them, so that's a really nice thing to do. And then the private ones that come to me, it's actually nice to be working a little bit more from home, living a bit more centrally, so people can come to me, and then occasionally do a Reiki session with someone else. It might just be a 40-minute session, but you book an hour and you have the Reiki session. And I think it, I'd
like to come for some Reiki at some point.
Okay, we'll sort that.
That would be amazing.
So again, you request it, so I will offer it. It's like
I'll pay you for it though. I'd love to do it. And in fact, I was actually going to say, we're wrapping up now, but I just wanted to put it out there. I've got this new idea where musicians that are my friends play a piece, and I'll paint to the rhythm of that music and create a piece of how I resonate with it. And I wondered if you would be up for doing something like that.
As soon as you said that, I thought of the perfect piece of music.
Really?
Yeah.
No way. Maybe we could even get some videographers and film the experience of it happening live. So you're playing while I'm painting, and just see what we create.
See what happens.
That would be so exciting.
Because actually, on that note, one of my supervisors actually does some work in what sound looks like when it hits a certain resonance.
Wow.
And it comes up with these pictures, but it's all created with sound. And then she does it with the colour frequency as well, so it will change the colour of the sound frequency.
That's amazing.
I don't fully understand it, as obviously.
Neither do I, but I'd like to look into that more.
Sounds amazing.
Maybe it's something we could experiment in together.
Yeah, and then use those colours in the music.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
This is why I love this podcast.
It's so great.
Yeah.
It's so great. I love it.
I've actually had the best chat today. Thank you.
Oh,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it. I think
Thanks
I've
for having
learned
me.
those from you. And some of the subjects we've hit on today are things I've wanted to talk about. And yes, I'm just really excited that we've been able to have this conversation and hopefully it helps other people listening.
Yeah, it's really refreshing to be talking about it, you know, a lot more openly, and just saying, this is what I do, this is how we work, and also just to have an open-ended conversation about it, which is really nice.
It was so refreshing. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Can I ask, how can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram as either Apollo Holistic Coaching, my personal one, which I still have as a work one, and apollo-coaching.co.uk is my main website that we use for most work things. So if anyone did want a Reiki session, you can either book me through that or go onto the UK Reiki Federation website and search like a map, and it will come up with me and where I am.
Perfect.
So that's for the Reiki, but lessons, music lessons, anything along those lines is First Tutors or my personal website.
Fantastic.
So First Tutors Music.
First Tutors Music.
And that's, if anyone ever wants to try lessons
Brilliant.
of any sort, we can.
Fantastic. Yeah, you have to book on if you need the lessons, guys. He's the guy to go to.
Or recommend someone else.
Yeah, yes, and that.
Different instruments or whatever. So.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for listening. This was Creative Conversations, and tune back in for next week. Bye. Creative Conversations was hosted by Sophia Gray. It was recorded at Granary Studios, audio production by Granary Digital, additional production support and editing by James Jones. For more information, visit our website at granary.digital. To contact the show, email podcast@granary.digital. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts and follow us on social media.